in a distant third. Mamdani has campaigned on those free buses, the free childcare, and freezing the rent, but supporters aren't sure if he's even going to be able to deliver. Is that why people are going for him? Because he's different than the rest?
He's charismatic. I'm sure he'll be wrapped up in his own scandal. I mean, what mayor of New York isn't? And we'll make a big deal out of it.
I like him. I think he sounds genuine to me, and I feel like he really cares about New Yorkers.
So that's what we're hearing out here in New York City. People had their minds made up when they were in this line in the city's west side, but you hit other neighborhoods, they tell you a different story. So we'll keep an eye on it for Tuesday when they make the big decision, Joey.
It looks like you found the two nicest Zohran Mamdani voters out there. They seem very pleasant people, Alexis. I appreciate that.
That's right. Thanks.
All right, thanks. Tommy, got to bring it to you. Let's take this to 30,000 feet. We just covered three major elections, really four when you break it down with the AG in Virginia. There's this idea that Democrats maybe aren't going to do so well in the midterms. This idea, I think it's being floated mostly by conservative writers and thinkers, this idea that Democrats, they don't stand for anything. They're fumbling even on the shutdown. And maybe that's true. So when we call these bellwether, what we're alluding to is the idea that maybe these are showing you what's ahead. I look at it like these are a little bit more parochial than that. They're a little bit more situational of the states they're in and the people running.
These aren't necessarily swing states,
yeah.
I think is what you're saying. Yeah, these are blue areas, right? Mm-hmm. I think New Jersey is going to be the outlier here. I think Chitterelli has a real chance. I spend a lot of time in New Jersey on the weekends. And like I told you last weekend, I've seen some Chitterelli signage, haven't seen any Cheryl signage. I also am so lucky as to be able to see the attack ads and the commercials for either candidate on repeat in New Jersey. And I'll tell you, Cheryl's advertisements, they're not moving me, right? I hear her say over and over again that she's a pilot. That's great. That's esteemed. Wonderful. Not sure how that translates to being the governor of New Jersey. And I've heard Chitterelli say over and over again, Democrats have had their chance. If you don't like the way things are and you feel things in New Jersey are too expensive, why would you vote for another Democrat? So I think he makes a real compelling case. Here in New York City, Mark and I were talking about this in the green room. I don't see either outcome for Democrats being a good one. So you've got Mamdani that wins. OK, that's great for Republicans in the midterms. They can point to it and say, you got your socialists. There you go. Is this what the Democrat Party is? So that's the one outcome. But if Cuomo wins, that also indicates that that deep blue socialist leftist ideology doesn't even work in New York City. So I think as far as New York City goes, none of it looks good. Virginia's the one where Democrats might make out OK. But again, I don't think that that's any big shock. No. So I don't think this is really as bellwether as it's, portrayed to be. It's
situationally, Mark, and welcome to the show again.
Thank
welcome
you.
back.
Good to be back.
I did my research on this one because when I thought to myself, okay, if these aren't bellwether, what's history show us? And we're not having to look back at a different president. We can look back at President Trump in 2016, 17, 18. And so when you look at that, the stats that are kind of across the top is right now today, 42 seats. That's in state houses and the U.S. House or in U.S. Congress. Across 18 states, they've had a 15% gain, Democrats have, over the Trump-Kamala percentages. So 15% when it comes to voter turnout and who's voting for them. When we go back to 2017, 2018, that was about a 10.6% change. So they're outperforming 16 and 17 right now today with these special elections that have happened so far.
Yeah, so I'm not a big believer that low turnout off-year elections are a bellwether of anything.
Yeah.
In fact, they favor the Democrats. The Democrats tend to do better in these. And as Tommy pointed out, these are, blue to purple states, right? And a deep blue city in New York. So I just don't think that this is a bellwether for anything. I think that one of the reasons why Ciccarelli might do well is because there's a Mamdani effect across the Hudson. Because there's a lot of the people who live in New Jersey, right near here, it's because they don't want to live in New York. Right? They've already defected with their feet. They've already voted with their feet to move to New Jersey. So they can't vote against Mamdani, but they can vote for Ciccarelli, and so they can cast their ballot. So I think there's an impact there that is helping the Republicans.
Kaylee, this one is, I think this is the most important sentiment here when we talk about what's going to happen. This is from The Hill. This is Douglas McKinnon. He says, Republicans are still swimming upstream against decades of Democratic propaganda spread far and wide by media allies. And so what he's getting at there, if you read this whole piece on The Hill, is this idea that there's a sentiment that Democrats are going to do bad. There's a sentiment, perhaps spread by those who have an interest, that Republicans are going to do well. But really, there's so much ground to conquer, especially in places like Northern Virginia and New Jersey, where the media has really been complicit in getting Democrats elected.
Well, and to that point, the fact that a state like New Jersey is even as close as it is actually a very bad sign for the Democrats, even if they do tend to perform better in these low turnout off-year elections. And I think Democrats want to make these elections a bellwether against the Trump administration as a sort of symptom for how the country is feeling about the Trump administration and his agenda. But I don't think that's going to work, because I think Democrats assume that people are far more upset with the Trump administration than they actually are. New Jersey is a case in point. Again, the fact that Chitterelli is really doing well in these polls is a very bad sign for Democrats. And keep in mind, New Jersey was the state with the second biggest swing to the right in 2024. You're seeing a continuation of a swing to the right in an off-year election where Democrats should be performing far better than they are. And one other thing that I found very interesting about New Jersey in particular is that this swing to the right is actually among minority voters. Atlas Intel, which was one of the most accurate pollsters in 2024, found that Chitterelli has 60% support among black voters. He's up 20 points above Mikey Sherrill. That suggests that the GOP is continuing to make gains among minority voters, which is one of the key coalitions that Democrats typically rely on. So in my opinion, these are all very good signs for Republicans, even if they don't necessarily come out on top of all of these races.
Yeah, I think that's, just to cap this off, I think that's my opinion. Regardless if they win them or not, if they close the gap narrowly and cost Democrats a lot of money and time on these races, that shows how strong they're performing in what I would say are very blue areas. So I like that. All right. Coming up on this jam-packed big weekend show, we're breaking down all the major races to watch on Election Day. Plus, California Governor Gavin Newsom, with his hands moving around, is now claiming he doesn't want to be president. And Nigeria now says it would welcome America's help in helping them in stopping the killing of Christians.
Day 33 and counting, the government shutdown now dragging into the second month, and Americans are feeling the pinch. Millions who rely on food assistance are worried about losing their SNAP benefits, and there are concerns at the airport as travelers are dealing with delays and worried about their safety as air traffic controllers feel the strain. Nashville International Airport has a ground delay until 4 p.m. today because of staffing shortages. Newark Airport in the New York metropolitan area is also under a ground delay amid staffing shortages in the control tower. And while hardworking Americans feel like they are losing, Democrats seem more concerned with who is winning.
Democrats have voted 14 times now, Shannon, to keep the government closed. You have the major airlines in the country. You have every segment of the population and hardworking Americans who will be going without. You have 42 million recipients of SNAP that are in jeopardy right now. You have women, infants, and children because the nutrition program that President Trump and the White House have heroically funded thus far is running out of money. And, of course, the troops. I mean, we've gotten them paid now for 2 cycles, but that money is not inexhaustible, and it's running out. And so increasingly, the American people will be feeling the pain, and after we pass that threshold of the first of this month, it gets very real for more and more people.
Georgia Republican Congressman Buddy Carter joins me now live in studio. Congressman, welcome.
Thank you.
So on the air traffic controller issue, the flight delay, flight cancellation issue, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy's talking about that today. Let's play him and I'll get you to react.
There's a burning frustration like in the rest of the country. And so you mentioned that safety is my top priority, and it is. We will delay, we will cancel any kind of flight across the national airspace to make sure people are safe. But there is a level of risk that gets injected into the system when we have a controller that's doing 2 jobs instead of 1. We manage that, we look out for it, and safety is the priority. We'll take all steps necessary, though, to make sure that you get from point A to point B and you do it safely.
How concerned are you about air traffic controllers, a very stressful job, going more than a month without pay?
Oh, absolutely. It's stressful. And you can imagine the strain that this puts them under not getting a paycheck. I mean, they've got bills, they've got responsibilities, and they're not able to meet those responsibilities. So it adds to the strain that's already there, adds to the stress that's already there. So, and that's not a good scenario, and it's not a good situation for Americans to have people in that important position under that kind of stress.
Are Democratic leaders Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries looking over their shoulders at Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Zohran Mamdani, potentially the next New York City mayor, and fearful for their positions of power?
Oh, there's no question about it. I think that the reason Chuck Schumer has initiated this this shutdown has been because he's afraid he's going to be primaried by AOC. And let's make sure we understand this shutdown was initiated by Chuck Schumer, John Ossoff, and the Senate Democrats. We did our job in the House. We passed a continuing resolution, clean continuing resolution to get us through. They want to use the American people, our troops, our WIC program, our SNAP program as leverage to get health care benefits for illegal aliens.
I want to play an old clip from then President Barack Obama on government shutdowns, and I'll get you to react to it.
No Congress before this one has ever in history been irresponsible enough to threaten default, to threaten an economic shutdown, to suggest America not pay its bills just to try to blackmail a president into giving them some concessions. Republicans do not like the law. They can go through the regular channels and processes to try to change it. That's why we have elections. You do not threaten the full faith and credit of the United States of America.
Should Democrats in Congress now listen to his comments from 12 years ago?
They should, and those comments are still applicable to today, except that he should replace Republicans with Democrats, because that's what's happening right now. The Democrats are using the American people, using our troops as leverage. Even Bernie Sanders has admitted it. Even my colleague, Kathleen Clark, has admitted it. They're using them as leverage.
We have an election on Tuesday. New York City, New Jersey, Virginia, Northern Virginia has a ton of federal employees. Do you think there will be a miraculous change on Wednesday to try to get a deal to reopen the government?
I hope so, and I do think so. I think that I think this should bring the Democrats to their senses to know that we teach our children that actions have consequences. Well, the actions of the Democrats are going to have consequences, and hopefully we will see that on Tuesday.
Many folks watching us now may be having some sticker shock as they look at their Obamacare premiums during the registration period. Will Congress need to act on that?
We will, because this is the Unaffordable Care Act. I mean, Obamacare, the Democrats realized early on that it was unaffordable, and they started subsidizing it. And then when the pandemic started, we got the Biden COVID bonuses that they set to expire at the end of the pandemic. Now they want to extend them. This is not going to work. And the Democrats have ruined health care in America with the Unaffordable Care Act.
I know you're hoping for government to reopen soon. Do you think it will?
I do think it will. I think that, especially after Tuesday, and when we see a Republican victory throughout the country, then I think that the Democrats will come to their senses.
Congressman Buddy Carter, the great state of Georgia. Great to see you in person.
Thank you.
Take care.